Hi, everybody. My name is Alcides, co-founder and president of NFTs.NYC.
Hello, everyone. My name is Grullon. I'm actually the co-founder and CEO of NFTs.NYC.
Hey everyone, I'm Kyle Gordon. I'm the co-founder of Doing Good and an NFT artist for the last 2 years.
Hi everyone, I'm Edouard Bessire. I'm one of the co-founders of MyNFT.com and GBM Auction and also Cryptograph back in the days for those who know.
And I'm Gauthier Zuppinger. I'm the COO and co-founder of nonfungible.com. We've been there for 4 years now.
So obviously we want you guys to all purchase whatever these guys have for sale. And then
Non-financial advice.
right.
Not for
Thank you.
advice.
Do your own research. And then but yeah, let's get into it. What should we buy?
Should I start? Yep. So maybe what I can share with you is maybe not my personal due diligence process, but at Non-Fungible, we are working with a lot of whales, these extremely large collectors that own thousands of NFTs. We evaluate their portfolio, basically. So sometimes we just ask some of them about why they purchase these specific assets and what is their, their thought process. And the first feedback we had is that they purchase something that makes sense for them, that they consider that someone else could value, would like to buy as well. So the first question is it something that makes sense to you? It's not only about profit, it's about, is it something that resonates with you? If it's about art, if it's about, I don't know, any kind of use case, is it something that you definitely consider as useful for you or for someone else?
Yeah, so definitely would like to add to that. So on NetER, we actually run a NFT platform by collectors for collectors that provides NFT news and data to help you actually determine which NFT to buy. So looking at that question specifically for upcoming projects, there's 4 key variables that we look at to consider, which is a new collection doxed or verified? Like, could you actually verify the creators of this project? Second, is it a derivative or an original project? This is very important when considering an NFT. Third, do they have a roadmap? Are they going to provide any type of utility? And fourth, do they have a social presence? On our platform, new collectors or existing collectors could actually take a look at these 4 key points to determine which NFTs to buy.
I'll just jump in too. I think it's good when you're approaching a purchase to kind of separate and identify whether you're purchasing a piece of art or you're purchasing a PFP or a collectible. Most times if you're purchasing a collectible or a PFP, you're not really buying art, you're kind of investing in a startup and you're basically betting on the team to deliver on a roadmap, deliver on promises, and you're actually not getting any equity in the startup you're investing in. So it's kind of funny in a sense. And when it comes to art, knowing the history of the artist, knowing how long they've been making art, their technical ability, like their clout in circles of other creators, curators, etc., like find and follow and learn from like established tastemakers versus people who are just buying whatever and supporting random people. Tastemaking still really fresh, especially in the NFT space. So, following curators, following people who are like working with like different demographics of creators and stuff, I think is a good starting point for people looking to buy stuff.
Yeah, if I can jump in there. When it comes to, you were mentioning about the creators, I would just like to say, don't get sold on creators that come from Web 2. There's a lot of projects that launched that maybe the creators came from Paramount, Disney, whatever it may be, and a lot of people feel that the project is going to be successful. And I have seen a tremendous amount of projects go down the tubes because people thought they were going to give more than what was actually received. So a lot of the times, it really doesn't matter where you come from. More of the creators and the tastemakers in the space, people gravitate to a lot more than people that come from the Web 2 space.
Yeah, I would add as well, more than just like what to buy, I think it's very interesting to look at how they're being sold, like what mechanism and where you can buy them, because it shows the choice that the project, the creators have on how they're dropping the NFT is actually a very big component in that, and having the right mechanism that's one of the things that we focus on a lot in our company, more than like telling people exactly what to buy. And this kind of data product that you guys do well is having an amazing, like we have the GBM auction mechanism, which is like the best way to drop NFTs right now, very successful. Like how do you making sure like everyone has the best price, make sure that it's not the flippers that are making the money, but the project themselves, they can reinvest it in the community. So where like one of the things that the NFT platform is looking at is having the best way, not to find necessarily what to buy, but to help creators having the best way, so that you have the best way to buy it, you have the best experience when you buy it. So that's kind of what we are more focused on as well. And I think that does matter as well. What mechanism? There's a lot of projects that have had issues in their drops with the first come first serve fixed price or the Dutch auction, all that stuff. And so we spend a lot of time like innovating, like finding the best price discovery mechanisms, so that the creators can come and the buyers are happy and have a good experience buying it, because that's like buying is like the first step in getting to the community. So you want people to have a good time doing that. So that's what we focused on MyNFT.
I totally agree, and I think that on top of this, about how you purchase the NFT, one of the first question, and it's not only about NFTs, is what is your goal? Do you want to make money? Do you want to speculate, to resell the asset 2 days later or 2 years later? Okay, that's just one use case. If you just want to purchase it because you love it, because, I don't know, you're in love with this artist or with his artwork, or you just want to play that game, I mean, you can't lose. If you just want to enjoy the asset, you just can't lose. But if you just want to purchase that to make money, to speculate, that's a completely different use case. So if it's about investment, you have a lot of process of, real due diligence to run. But I think that the first question is really, what is your goal when you're entering the NFT space?
Yeah, and I just want to add, how many people are collectors, like NFT collectors here? How many people are creators? All right. So real quick, like just to add to what Kyle said is, when you're looking into a collection to invest in it, I hear a lot, hey, I love the art, or hey, I love the community. But in reality, going what to Kyle was saying, you're really investing in the brand and investing in the people that could execute that brand story. And just bear that in mind, instead of just looking at the actual NFT always and saying whether you love the art or not. It's actually the brand that you're investing in.
That's a really good point. It's kind of like what I'd said for most of you were here when I did my opener. It's like there's startups, and then there's some that are also bigger brands coming from Web 2 over to Web 3. I'm finding that the bigger brands are just doing free drops. Like yesterday, Coach just did a free drop. And it's like, okay, because that it's a retail environment where I was just reading about Doodles, and Pharrell Williams is going to be the creative director. And then Alexis Ohanian's VC fund is investing in them to take it to the next level. So those are big signals. Like, not only do we have somebody that's, Alexis is founder of Reddit, and a VC, and, really in the space. And then, so that, their floor price is higher, but that's something to, again, not investment advice, but it's very interesting. Any other case studies or use cases that, to you guys, that, stick out in terms of, where this is going right now and what looks really interesting? I just say right now, because it's such an interesting environment that we're in.
Well, I think that you're going to start seeing more collections, more projects dropping free mints, because what this does, it removes the rug pull, right? And I think for a creator, you should really be considering this, because, a lot of times creators are more focused on how much money they could make up front, as opposed to right away establishing a 10K community or 5K community. So, one of the things I see as a trend, these rug pools are going to start becoming more minimal throughout the market.
Yeah, and just to add as well, I think most of the projects you're aware of today are probably going to disappear in as soon as the next couple months, probably, maybe 2 years. It's going to be interesting to see. But what I'm really looking forward to is people actually harnessing NFTs more as an experience. And I think there's a lot of tools and stuff that's like, it's improving significantly, even just since like a couple months ago. There's so many more tools available to creators and making it more accessible to like gamify a brand experience. But I think the key thing that most people are missing, and I'm excited for, you know, you mentioned a free drop. These big companies that are entering this space aren't coming in stoked about making $1 million or $2 million or $3 million. They're looking at this as a tool for growing their brand, growing their audience, and kind of like onboarding their Web2 people into an experience and into the future of like what digital content and consumption can look like. And so as the tools get better and as all these things continue to grow and improve, I think we're going to see a lot more tooling for brand growth, and people really need to focus on building a brand and not a tech startup, especially creators.
Just to jump in real quick, sorry. Back to what you were saying this week, it's so true because every month things are changing in the space. There's new applications. 4 or 5 months ago, you probably needed a developer and 10 to 15K to mint the project. Now there's softwares and applications that have come out. I was at a workshop by Pablo Stanley from Robotos this week, and he built an application that if you are a creator and you did the art, you can literally deploy it to the system, build the rarities, build your own smart contract within the system, and in 10 minutes be deployed on the mainnet.
The barrier to entry is basically being reduced drastically.
Oh yeah. Honestly, when we see how these things have evolved over the past 4 years, I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, 4 years ago, when you wanted to create an NFT, you really had to be a nerd. I mean, you really had to code something to be, you know, in the basement of your building. I mean, that was just crazy. Now, almost everyone is able to just create its own NFT. I mean, someone in my team just created its own smart contract in just a couple of clicks a couple of days ago. It's just crazy. Now, almost everyone is able to create one. So I think there is definitely a good thing is that you don't need to be a tech guy to create something. But on the other end, everyone that just, you know, is able to draw something on Paint is able to create a smart contract and put it on the blockchain. So I think we'll see more and more people creating more and more content for the best and probably the worst as well.
Yeah, and to go back to what you were saying about, you know, like this PFP kind of project, you know, that there's a lot more utility and a lot more things that we can do with NFTs that are gonna come out. And so definitely what I would be looking at as in a project is how fast can they innovate and looking at new things, and like because definitely all the projects are gonna need to iterate and gonna need to find a way that still be true and authentic to who they are, but really change what they're doing, what their proposition is over time, because this space is moving really, really fast. And yeah, like in maybe 6 months or in 2 years, maybe most people won't care about just a PFP project, and you're gonna have to be much, much better than that and do a lot more than that, right? So there are projects like that I've had some projects that have worked with us, like, you know, with this GBM auction thing, and I look at them and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing this. Like, I'm almost like inspired, and we need to take this into our own company. Like this feature, we need to enable this feature on our marketplace for any other projects to do it. They're really innovating. Some people are like building some really cool stuff. You know, like there's a lot of noise out there. There's also a lot of really cool stuff being built in the meantime. So the hard part is to separate the noise from the value. But if you can, that you're gonna have a project that's gonna, you know, keep evolving, keep bringing more, and that's what you want to buy, I guess.
So real quick, just going back to that question, right? Like how to determine which NFT you should buy. Personally, as a collector, right? Someone that came into the space about 2 years ago, one of the things that I constantly preach is don't follow or fall for the FOMO, right? So, I mean, you heard Gary Vee say this all the time about like, hey, don't just jump at the mint, right? And that's, you know, one of the key factors that I look at is the liquidity of a collection, right? I look at how many unique holders a collection has. So for Netty and our platform and all that, we look at, let's say a collection, do they have a 50% or more unique holders, right? Like wallet range. And when you're looking at liquidity, the wallet range, the social media presence, you know, it's almost better, again, if you're looking at it from an investment point of view, it's almost better to buy into that NFT at 1 ETH, 2 ETH, 3 ETH, or 4, as opposed to minting 50 projects that are going to fail, right? So I just wanted to highlight that because, you know, a lot of people always ask, well, how did you develop this collection of NFTs? How did you gather all these blue chips that you have? And a lot was just assessing the collection and letting them prove to me that they're an established brand or an upcoming collection.
You addressed a massive point there, which is about metrics. What are the right metrics to look at when you want to assess, to purchase something? And actually, what you mentioned there, so the liquidity, the volume of USD traded, the volume of orders, they are really important. But more and more people are getting, more mature in the space. So they are looking at some more complex metrics. And it's the kind of stuff we provide as well about the profitable or non-profitable resale. We are now able to tell you if people are reselling their asset at loss or not. So more and more the notion is not only about how the market is just right now, but what is the user behavior? Are people just in FOMO, or are they just completely scared and dumping their assets? And at some point, it's not because people are just dumping their assets and reselling at loss that the project is bad. It's just that if I take the example of the sandbox, over the past few weeks, people are just reselling at loss just because they purchase for a expensive price. So is the sandbox bad? No, definitely. It's an extremely, it's a crazy project, but people just went crazy about it, maybe too crazy. So you definitely have to consider the value of a project and how people react to the project itself and the state of the market.
A perfect thing to that is we also have a podcast, an NDR podcast, and Jonathan and I, one of our NFT specialists, analysts, was, we were talking on one of the videos, and we're looking at Goblin Town. Everybody is fully aware of Goblin Town, right? And again, not to say whether the collection is great, bad, or all that, right? Because art is subjective and the community and all that. But we saw the collection at 7 or 8 ETH, and we basically gave it a sell rating, right? And again, we're not against the collection, but what we saw was basically their social media metrics go down, so less mentions, less people sharing the content, and then we saw liquidity drop. And once we saw those two factors, we said, okay, hey, for our audience, this is our personal opinion of this collection, right? And again, that's like a good indicator, because any of these projects, even Bored Ape Yacht Club or anything like that, how, Non-Fungible was speaking on, once you look at the metrics, you could basically check like buyer behavior, right? So a couple weeks ago, Bored Ape Yacht Club was like 65 ETH, and now it's back up. But, we don't know why people were just selling. But again, it's something important to look at, is the behavior of the users.
Mm-hmm. And one more thing I just want to add while we're talking about metrics and also about like why people would want to buy an NFT. I think we have the experience, people are building experiences. We have people who want to make money. But one of the other big things, at least, that we're trying to like work on with like doing good is help people make impact, like help stream funds to social causes, help do so in a way that's transparent, and also do so in a way that can transparently, like people can show off their impact. And use that data, use the analytics, basically down to the point where you have like an impact tab on your profile, and you can see which regions of the world you're donating to, which causes. And as that evolves and grows, and as the space evolves and grows, I think people are going to have a lot more people, like communities and like teams of people banded around causes who aren't buying things necessarily to make money or to like have an experience, but actually to like help others and create impact for people who really need it.
I really like that, because it's like for buying. So, I mean, some of the summary is like buying them. It's like, what's your goal? What's your purpose of being in there? Are you flipping? Are you want to be part of the community? Is this an asset that you own the IP and you want to create your own brand underneath? Sometimes that's interesting, because also I can't think of the word, but the main brand would want it to be strong to order to have your own offshoot IP with it. So can I also ask you guys, because this came up, when would be the time? So what to buy? Well, when to sell? Is that something?
I think that's again, it's a personal thing. Like for me, I got into the space about 2 years ago. I've never liquidated for fiat. I've only traded to buy, right? But I have a very complete different outlook, right? I'm very long term, so it really depends, right? Because how he's mentioned, like there's day traders, there's long term investors. So I look at that, and then there's some people that just want to come into space to make a quick buck and try to leave as safely as possible, right?
Yeah,
but yeah,
I guess the most important question is not when to buy, but when to sell, I think.
I threw you guys for a loop with that.
Actually, both are extremely related, and once again, it's really related to what is your goal. I mean, if your goal is really if you enter the space just to trade assets, whatever it is, you have to spend an infinite time on Twitter and everything just to know what's going on, to hear about Goblin Town before even it launches, and to monitor the potential, the financial potential of that. So if you are able to identify these kind of things, and honestly, you will learn that the hard way. You will fail. You will, lose money at the beginning, but you will hear about new projects. You will, just be able to compare this project with potential other competitors. So honestly, the part about when to buy and when to sell, if it's getting, really up too fast, don't buy. Of course, it's going to go down at some point. So, it's just like all these guys entering the Telegram pump and dump group. If something is just pumping like 10x in 2 days, it's going to go down at some point. It's always the case.
Yeah, if I can add to that. So it's so true about what your goal is. And then, when to sell. For me, for example, I think I would say it does depend on your goal, what the long hold for this project would be for you. Because you can buy a project at 1 ETH, metrics show it starts going down, you can sell it at 0.9, you save your stash, right? But what if it was Bored Ape? It took Bored Ape 6 months to finally take off the ground, So you just really never know what project eventually is going to take off. So one thing for me that I would have to say is in this space that people need to learn how to have patience. I think there's so much money flowing through this space, so many projects that are free mint and they're 10 ETH in 3-4 days, that people start looking at just the shiny object when they want to invest in the space, and people have just gotten greedy. No one cares for making 50% profit, 20% profit. They want to make the 10x, the 50x, and sometimes you get stuck with the project and end up losing out. Like personally, my portfolio, there are so many projects that I have traded throughout time that if I would have just held those NFTs and never bought other ones, my portfolio growth would have probably been the same or more than it is now than by me just holding the entire time. And I used to think that all in the space, you hear so much about mental health and everything going on. I used to think it was just a trend that the projects were just, on Discord adding in. But it can really get to you. If you're trading on a day-to-day basis and you have to be on top of every project, are they moving? What's the social? Just earlier before, we were talking about emotions. We can look at a lot of data and try to analyze the project, but a lot of the times it's how's the community going? I went to events this week just to see the community in person. Like, who are they? What ethnicities? How old are they? Just to get the vibe from the community to decide if I want to stay with the project or keep on going.
Yeah, so that's a real good point. So last year, me and Al went to Ape Fest. I had one mutant at the time. We actually got to experience the community that they were building. I run back home, start buying 7 of them. Everyone's like, you're crazy. You don't understand. This is a joke. NFTs are not that. And it was literally one of the best financial decisions I made because I went and actually got to experience the culture that they were building before the general public got to see it. So this is very important. So again, this is NFT.NYC. If you have one of these NFTs, that's doing an event, go to them and assess the project. Again, as an investor, collector, or someone that just admires their work.
Mm-hmm. And I would just add that selling is a personal journey. Collecting, investing, it's a personal journey. Yeah, you can follow your influencers and your tastemakers and all these people, but most likely they're just dumping on you when they talk about the project. I think especially now, people are going to be in different situations that are going to either force them to sell against their will because they quit their job at McDonald's to go full-time into Web3. and now they have to pay the bills. So they're either going to be liquidating their assets to survive and live, or other people bought into projects, have conviction, and are willing to sit and wait however long it takes for them to go up or for them to go to zero. So I don't think, I think if it's advice at all, I would just say everyone has to have their own circumstances that determine if they sell something, and the best time to set that goal or that rule is before you buy it and stick to it.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say, it really resonated as well what you were saying, that, you know, if you had just left the portfolio and just left it, it would have been very similar, and you would have spent way less time and all of that emotional involvement. Like, the last thing that personally I want to do when I move into this space was to create something that would make people, you know, stressed or miserable, or go, you know, spend their day just looking at the market or looking at this. Oh my God, it went down 10%. What's going on? Like, I think, because, you know, like in this panel, like, what NFTs to buy? So there's definitely people out there that are like, what should I buy? Like, how should I buy? I'm like, you know, make sure you stay reasonable out there, you know, and that you're definitely having a good time, and don't go over the line for sure. Like, I think that's important to say, you know, like, stay safe out there.
I just wanted to get back really quickly to what you guys said about the emotional side of things. You know, at Non-Fungible, we do have a lot of data about what's going on in the market, but we were really curious about why people actually buy or sell something. So we just, you know, run a poll, and we had something like 500 answers from NFT collectors. And the question was, why do you purchase NFTs? And 30% of them answered that they purchase NFTs for the financial potential. Only 30%. So 70% purchase for other reasons. And to be honest, I'm extremely happy to see this kind of results, because not everyone is buying NFTs to make money. Most people purchase their assets because they consider there is a use case, there is a real utility, and the utility is not just to become rich, which is really cool.
The one thing I want to just add on, I know it's not part of the question, is when we talk about that FOMO and not, you know, like rushing to buy your NFT, that's when you can make mistakes, click the wrong link, all of a sudden your whole wallet gets drained. So it with rushing or trying to like catch stuff or whatever, it's like with doing your research, just being extra, you know, even, you know, I can only speak for myself, I'm sure, you know, I've been buying NFTs since 2017, and even myself, like a week or so ago, I was like one click away from my wallet being drained, you know, in Twitter. So it's really something to be mindful about when you're purchasing, just making sure that you've got the right link, the right project, if it's verified or not. A lot of times even, you know, if you guys have a tip, we have 2 more minutes, by the way, so any last thoughts, but for me, I'll go to like the project's Discord official links or their Twitter. I like triple make sure now that I'm going to be buying something, you know, from the right place.
I would say definitely buy a ledger. Please, 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 please. If you're putting your hard-earned money, buy a hardware ledger.
Maybe if I have just one last thought for you guys, your time is probably your most valuable asset. It's definitely your most valuable asset. So all the time you are able to spend, you know, at looking at a project, to just, you know, do research, to understand what's going on, if this is really a brand new initiative or if it's just a copycat. All the time you will spend there will be really, really profitable down the road. So just, yeah, spend as much time as you can before buying something.
And just know that there's no shame in taking a loss on something. It's a great time to consolidate into projects that you believe in long term. And it's also a great time to take those losses because your taxes last year were probably really not great, and you probably didn't cash any of that money out. So,
Yeah.
And I'll just finally say, if you're looking to buy an NFT pre-mint and you do all the research that you need to do, just know that there's a lot of people in the space that are trying to flip, right? They're in this because of the hype. Usually the projects will pump within the next 3 to 4 days. You know, when the project starts taking a downfall, if you really believe in it, don't cash out, because usually that means the flippers are leaving. Eventually the people that really care for the project will come in, and the project will start going back up in price.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, you know, my just last word was, yeah, once you found out which NFT to buy, go to my NFT to buy it.
The ledger is a really important note. Getting a ledger is protecting yourself and your money. So to be able to, and they're making it much easier to move your stuff over. It's like that in itself can be nerve-wracking. So thank you guys so much. This is a great panel.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, leave the mics on the chair.